the recording. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Uh, Income tax. Before we start anything, I had few points to discuss. Okay. Number one, I think Aswiti asked about it, and I told something similar to that. I wanted to say that this paper is slightly different than the other papers that we had. Here we have a lot of provisions. Each provision has a lot of numbers. Now, if we want to solve a question, we need to remember those numbers. There is no other way. There is no other way. We have to by heart those numbers. So if suppose some motor car is used, and in that some cubic capacity is there 1.6, if more than 1.6 then something, if less than 1.6 then something, we have to remember those numbers. If we don't, we can't do anything in the exam, to be honest. So how to remember that? I have few methods. As what we will do is, I was also repeating this before I started the recording, that if you remember when we did the journal entry in the beginning first semester, the journal entry golden rule, the way we remembered it was, there was no other logic than just by hurting it in a way where we were just repeating that a number of times. Whenever we had a question which was involving journal entry, we were again repeating the journal entry golden rules, so that ultimately what happened was, by a lot of repetitions we remembered those. We did not have to make any effort other than that. So that is one of the methods. So what we will do is, we will try while practicing questions, we will go through the whole provision, all the numbers. Every time that provision comes, sorry, every time that item comes into our question, we will go through that same provision again, and we will repeat the numbers, repeat the conditions and everything. Eventually that will get we will by heart that automatically. That happens. I have seen that, I have done that before also. That is fine. Another method can be, what we can follow is, just have one document with you, which would have all the provisions in it. And whenever you have some time, just look at the provisions, wherever you are, whatever time it is, just look at the provisions. And while looking at it, just understand the essence of it. So if you do that a number of times, automatically you start to remember those numbers. That is another way of doing it. So the second one, I cannot help you with that. That is completely your responsibility. First one, I can help you with. So what I'm planning to do is, we will practice a lot of questions. I will try to spend more time depending on my schedule and all. And with every head, we will, without discussing any concept, we will directly go into a question. We will discuss. Wherever item comes, we will revise together the whole provision. Even if our question is involving only a part of it, we will revise the whole thing, and then only we will solve the question. And the number of times we will repeat that, that will determine how much and how far we can remember a particular provision. uh, Second thing that I wanted to talk about was, see, this paper is slightly tricky, in the sense, every year income tax provisions change. Understand the complexity of it. Suppose you refer a question, you googled a question, you found the answer, and that answer was actually posted, whatever source you referred, no, that answer was for assessment year 2018 and 19. Okay, now we are standing at 21 22 right now. Now there has been 18 19, 19 20, 20 21, 21 22. So 3 assessment years gap is there between the answer that you are looking at and the answer that we are expected to do. In those 3 years, budget must have come 3 times. In those budgets, amendments must have come in the income tax. Things must have changed. So what I'm getting at is, do not look at any other source. Whatever content that is given by Sir, is absolutely updated and is relevant for us, only refer to that. Don't look at any other answer, because this confusion, what happens is, eats up our time unnecessarily. Now I'll give you an example. This 50,000 deduction, this 50,000 deduction in salary came in a recent year. It was not there before that. It came in a recent year. It was not there before that. Now, in one of the questions given in the CIA 1 had this taxable salary calculation. Many people saw one solution from internet. That solution I have also seen, because few people sent me that also, where that 50,000 deduction is not there. The reason is, at that time, that 50,000 provision was not existing, because it came later in some other year. Now, what happens is, this whole doubt and discussion arose because you saw one solution which is older. Now, how can we avoid that? Do not look at any other source. Just refer to the content, whatever is provided by sir. We are going to talk about all the provisions again, and we will have one set of, like we used to have one Excel sheet where everything was there. I will also do that. Now you can refer that also. I'm just copying content from sir's document to this Excel sheet, so both are same only. You don't have to worry about that. So those are the 2 points that I wanted to mention. Any clarifications, any questions, any further discussions on that? Yeah, Mediclaim 15,000 is removed, also removed from 2019 compared to prior. Medical claim tax free. That is confusing, Sami. What you're trying to say, it is not conveyed. Mediclaim
15,000 rupees. No, not Mediclaim. Medical bills used to provide for 15,000 rupees amount.
So see, there are so many things related to Mediclaim. Okay, I wanted to mention one more thing. Let me just explain this, then only I'll mention that one.
Sure.
Mediclaim, no, there are so many provisions related to Mediclaim. Number one is, you have in ATC, Mediclaim deduction is there. There is another section called ATD, where you have medical checkup for your parents, yourself, or if you have taken Mediclaim for your parents or your dependents, that is deductible under ATD. Okay, those sections. So don't worry about the sections once you, because I have been through so much that some sections you automatically remember, so you don't have to remember, so don't worry about that. Now, what I was trying to say was, you have to be specific which provision you are talking about when you say 15,000 has been changed or has been removed. Now let's not focus on that. That is not important right now. We will go through it when our deduction chapter will be there, if it is there for us in our course. What I wanted to mention from this was this. Okay, often if you don't know something, you will be very keen to know, you will be very interested, and you will be listening very carefully, and that will be easy to manage that situation. When you know everything, then you don't need to be told anything. However, when you know something and you don't know anything else, and partly know, that's when the difficulty comes in. I would recommend, whatever you know until now, forget about it. When you are starting to reading income tax, the whole reason is because the provisions change. So let's not go into that complexity of comparing the provision between 1 year with the other, because unnecessarily that gives us the doubt. Let's only look at one number. So suppose one number is 5,000, no? Let's only talk about 5,000. Let's not talk about whether that was 4,000 last year, because that will automatically create that confusion within you. In the exam, you may actually confuse 5,000 to be 4,000, thinking that, yeah, we were having some other discussion about 4,000. So let's not do that. So this approach that I'm telling only to help all of us to remember the numbers, so that the number of times we will talk about the numbers will help us in remembering the numbers. That's all. So forget everything that you know until now. I know everybody must be having some idea. At least if you don't know anything, 1,50,000 of ATC, at least you would know something. But I'm telling you, forget everything. Okay, let's start from the scratch. Let's look at how we are going to go, and that is the approach in which we can actually make sure that at least something we remember for the exam. We don't have to refer anything in the exam, and we can do it by ourselves. Any other further questions or clarifications needed? Okay, all right. Now I'm sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yes. Now, all right. You can see my screen, right? Yes. No.
Yes, Dheeraj.
Yes, Dheeraj.
Awesome. Now, let me start with this question, small question. And in fact, I'm deleting the last point. That is because I need to do a little bit of homework from my end in that. Doesn't matter. It's all about our practice. That is, at the end of the day, that is what is the whole logic. So that at least out of these 100 numbers, you would remember, if you remember 20, 30, that is amazing. Okay, something at least we can do in the exam. I'm pretty sure though you will remember all of it. So let's go directly into it. I'm not going into basics right now. The way sir started the classes, like, the assessment year definition, income definition, salary definition, and all of that. I'm not going there. I'm directly going into a question. I'm showing you a provision. I'm giving you a question, and we are going to solve that particular question. So right now, the first point, as you can see, here is a point that I have mentioned. I just copied a content from sir's notes, a specific table from sir's notes, which reads valuation of unfurnished accommodation for private sector. What is it? Can somebody tell me from the name of it? And the heading of the table also, use it and tell me what it does. What is it exactly about?
It's about salary head, income from
Okay.
salary.
Okay.
Income from salary.
Okay.
The first head.
Okay. Perfect.
As we
That
have
is absolutely-
employer and employee relationship here.
Yes. No. What this provision exactly is talking about? I got that. Yes. Don't read everything. Just from the headings, are you able to get anything? Get any idea?
Yeah, it's a company provided accommodation. Accommodation.
Like
So
quarters or
Perfect.
rent.
Exactly. So now this provision is talking about when we have a unfurnished rent-free accommodation. So whenever a company is giving a apartment to a guy, employee, and it is unfurnished, important part is it is unfurnished. So I don't have to explain what is unfurnished, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not going there. And in that, how much is the taxable value? The taxable value is determined by looking at two conditions. Condition number one, whether the accommodation is owned by the employer, yeah, or whether it is hired or leased by the employer, yeah. Now, in the owned by the employer, we have, if it is exceeding 25 lakhs population, we have 15% of the salary, that is taxable. If it is 10 to 25 lakhs, it is 10% of the salary. Now, if it is less than 10 lakhs, it is 7.5% of the salary. Now, if it is accommodation, then the taxable amount is amount of the lease paid, rent paid or payable, or 50% of the salary, whichever is lower. That means whatever rent is paid for that particular place, or 15% of the salary paid to the employee, whichever is lower, that will be your taxable value. Tell me if you are not able to understand the language of it. See, this is third class, fifth class mathematics. Okay, what they're exactly saying: 15% of salary, 10% of salary, 7.5% of salary. Percentage we have been doing from childhood. We should be able to do. But if you are getting a doubt about that, whichever is lower, or in those kind of languages, so that is where the interpretation law concept comes in. So interpreting a law is a slightly different aspect. If you are finding any doubt, please let me know. Or if you are understanding, then I'm going to start my questions.
There are one might be a silly question,
Yeah.
but we are going to calculate considering these provisions. Who is going to pay that to? Is it the employee paying or the company paying to the government?
Do you mean the tax? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here, I mean, think about think about it from a logical perspective. Let's answer your question from a logic only. Now, if a rent-free accommodation is given to the employee, who is getting the benefit?
Employee.
Employee. If employee is getting the benefit, then who should pay the tax?
Employee should be taxable.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So employer should not be taken into consideration while you are talking about this, because it is an expense for the employer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because employer
Yeah,
is actually paying the rent. Why should he pay tax for it? He should not. So yeah, I mean, it's okay. Not a silly question actually. It's very important that we clarify this kind of confusions from the start, so that we are in the right page, all of us. So any other questions?
Yeah, Dheeraj. As you clarified, like employee needs to pay the tax, right?
Yeah.
So is it like employee's responsibility that he has to disclose that I have been like accommodated in the company provided facility? So this is the amount I had saved, and he has to pay the tax. Or is it like is it like something company or the employer itself is going to deduct? Like he's going to show this amount, and it's going to get this deducted as a tax.
Yeah. Now I'm going to answer that question also from logic only, because I want you to realize that we already know those answers. Okay. So think about it now. You must be filing your taxes, right? Right. When you file your taxes, how much of income you have earned during the year, who tells the government?
Employer will say.
Employer tells the government.
From salary perspective,
while
salary employer will say Form 16 will be there.
While filing a return, no, Form 16 is a different thing. What I'm saying is, while filing a return, okay, while filing a return, income tax return, who tells how much of income have I earned? Employer does it, or who does it while filing the return?
Yeah, so of course it's individual responsibility, because we'll be having other source.
So we might be having other incomes, as you said absolutely correctly. So we tell the government, isn't it? How much of income have I earned during the year? We tell. That is what is called. They call it. There is a name for it. Give me 1 second. I think I'm forgetting the exact name for it. There is a law award for it. So the responsibility is given to each individual actually. If they're making some income, to the SSC. If they're earning some income, it is their responsibility to tell the government that we are earning this much of income, so we are going to pay this much of tax. Answers your question, right?
Yeah, got it. So it's always individual's responsibility that he has to disclose it. If he's not disclosing.
Form 16 concept that you are bringing up, we will discuss it later. That is something separate only, something different only. We will talk about it later. If the TDS is there for us, in our course, then only we'll bring it up. Otherwise, we are not going to go into that complexity. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, and this population numbers, this will be given in the question, right? Like, because we will be not be knowing
every information will be given in the question. If it is not given, as sir said very nicely, if some information you feel like not given, assume as long to make your work easier. Assume something so that your work will be easy. Got my point, right?
No.
Yeah. If some information you feel like something is not given, just assume one thing and make a note of it. Write that note, but assume something that is making your work easy. So that is going to take less time for us. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Perfect.
So it can be assumed any out of these three.
If it is not given. If it is not.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussions?
Or it can be in the other way, right? They can directly give like 10% of salary in respect of period where accommodation occupied by employee. Directly they can give the second column information or the column C information.
No, they won't give that. They won't give that.
Okay.
No, you have to remember those. So let's talk about the provision once more. Again, if the accommodation is owned by the employer, then we have three categories, right? 15%, 10%, 7.5%. 15% is when 25 lakhs, 10% is when 10 to 25 lakhs, and 7.5% when less than 10 lakhs. Yeah. If it is hired or leased by employer, it is amount of the lease rent paid or 15% of the salary, whichever is lower. Yes. Now let's look at this small point, which is saying something like this. Read this. Rent-free accommodation is provided in Bangalore. So the meeting will end in 10 minutes. You can just quickly join back. We'll continue our discussion in the same way. Rent-free accommodation is provided in Bangalore. Now, no other information is given. Now, I'm not going to show the provisions once again. Somebody, can you remind me what were those numbers and how much will be our taxable income?
Above 25 lakhs, it was 15.
Okay.
If we are assuming that it is not leased, it is owned, then
Mhm.
above 25 lakhs, it was 15%, and 10 to 25 lakhs, 10%, and below 10 lakhs, 7.5%.
What was the other category? Oh, sorry, you said below 10 lakhs, how much?
7.5%.
Perfect. What was the other category?
If it is leased,
Hmm.
so here we are assuming that it was not leased, right? It is owned.
No,
by
that we are not going
the
at. We're just discussing the provision now.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Every time we will face a question, no, we will revise the whole provision first. Then only we'll solve the
Okay.
question. So that the number of revisions will be so much that we'll remember the numbers automatically. Yeah. What was the other category?
Okay. The other category is when it is leased. So above 25 lakhs, there was nothing. 10 to 25 lakhs, it was either the rent payable per month or 15% of the employee salary, whichever is lower.
Okay. Anybody has any difference of opinion?
No, we are aligned with Anvisha.
No.
Dheeraj, I have one
please.
doubt.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this can be asked because here when they are telling leased, 10 to 25 they are getting the tax, but greater than 25 lakhs, why they are not asking for tax? They should actually, right?
That's actually correct. It's my mistake. What I have done, this was actually the whole thing. So while copy pasting, this was supposed to be merged together. Getting my point?
Okay.
So this was
Yeah, got
actually
it.
for the whole thing. So it's completely my mistake. That's why you guys did that. So this is like this. Do you see it?
Yeah.
So
Got it.
for the second category, you don't have to see the population at all. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So can we say the provision once more, please? So I'm saying only. So more than 25 lakhs, 15% if the accommodation is owned by the employer. 10 to 25 lakhs, 10% of the salary. Less than 10 lakhs, 7.5% of the salary. If the accommodation is hired or leased by the employer, then amount of lease rent paid or 15% of salary, whichever is lower, no matter what is the population. It is applicable for every situation. Make sense? Yes?
Yeah.
Dheeraj,
now
just
that
please,
please. Yeah.
quick doubt. As there are two options, right? One is like company own that accommodation, means there is a company property.
Yeah.
You mean to say, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So it is on company's name, that property.
Yes.
Okay. And another option is it is hired, means it's not company, it's not on the company's name, but it's someone's like someone else. So they had hired or they had took it on lease, right?
Yes, correct. That is
Okay.
absolutely correct.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Now tell me what should be the taxable value for this.
So of course, Bangalore population is more than 25 lakhs. Who will take the first assumption? Like
No. First of all, decide which assumption should you take. Is it because that information is not given in the question? Obviously, that whether it is owned
It
by
is
the
owned, we will take, because the monthly payable amount is not given. So it must be owned.
Monthly payable amount is not given. You're saying
The rent of the place is not
means
provided.
employer is not paying to any third party institute or accommodation.
Fair enough. Let's go by that. Now, if that's the case, then how much is our taxable rent-free accommodation? Assuming Bangalore's population
Assuming more than 25 lakhs, so
25 lakhs,
we'll
yes.
assume 15%.
15%, yes. That comes to, can somebody calculate it, please?
15% of 26,000 into 12.
Perfect.
So he's paying for an entire year, right?
Yes, entire year.
Okay, so 15% into 26,000 into 12.
Yeah, that comes to
Let me open the Excel sheet. Just give me a minute. Anusha is faster than us to calculate. Anusha, please share the answer.
No, I've already calculated. Just
No,
do
Sunny, I'm silly mistake expert.
it.
Getting
No,
46,800.
Yeah, 46,800 is the correct answer. Okay, now moving on to the next provision very quickly. So at the end of it, whatever provision we're covering today, we're going to revise all of them together once. Okay, now the second part of it, whenever that question will be there, furnished accommodation, then only we'll take it up, not now. We're not going to confuse.
So quick check, Dheeraj. This
Yeah.
46,800. This is the total rent we paid, right? That's what we had calculated here.
No. As I said, this is the taxable value for the employee. That's what we are calculating, right?
Okay, so this is the tax he's going to pay, or this is the
No.
amount like
Taxable value. Taxable value. What is the difference between taxable value and tax? You tell, no?
okay, free from like tax. Like for example, like if the employee is earning like
No. Let me ask you.
So
Let me ask you.
we are
Please.
assuming that sorry, Dheeraj, please.
No, go ahead, no, please.
So if we think of it like the employee income, since it is in kind and not in cash, so instead of say paying that much rent amount for accommodation, the company is providing the employee the accommodation. So
Perfect.
that is an income on we will charge that, we will calculate that as an income on which tax will be levied.
Absolutely correct. That is awesome. Yeah, Sami, did you get that?
yeah. So the 46,800. It's after like all exemptions clarified, right?
Correct. And on that, you have to calculate the tax separately, right?
Okay. So 46,800 is a taxable amount.
Yes.
But out of this, how much tax he has to pay? That is what we are calculating. Whether it's 30%, 20%, 10%.
That is not expected in this question. But when we will be calculating, we will calculate separately.
Okay.
In this question, only taxable salary is asked. Okay. Only taxable salary.
What will the like parameter we are defining to say this is a taxable salary which has to be like which is eligible for taxable what is it? I'm not getting applicable for tax. This is a taxable amount, right? This is amount. Okay, got it. This is a taxable amount.
Yeah. So you got your answer, is it?
Yes.
I did not even understand your question, but it's okay. You got the answer, so I'm not going to go into that. So, okay, let me quickly go to the next provision. So we have 4 provisions in total, I think. No, 5. Okay, let's quickly finish the second one. Second one reads, a valuation of perquisites in respect of interest-free loans or loan at concessional rate of interest. Now, what is this? It says, find out the maximum monthly outstanding balance of the loan taken. Find out the rate of interest charged by SBI as on 1st April of previous year. Calculate the interest of each month based on interest rate as per step 2. Then determine the amount of recovered as interest by the employer. Then taxable value of perquisite is step 3 minus step 4. Now, do you need any clarification? This is like spoon feeding the way he has written the steps. Yeah. So any doubts in those 5 points? Okay, now let me ask you what is the scenario? What is happening here? What is this provision about? Are you able to understand that from the heading of it? Valuation of perquisites in respect of interest-free loans or loan at concessional rate of interest. Let me ask you rather a specific question. Who is giving loan to whom?
Bank is giving loan to the employee.
Yes, exactly. And why is it that there is a tax concept coming in when employer is giving a loan to the employee? That should be fine, no? Because the employee will either way pay off everything. So why tax?
Because when the employee has taken a loan, that person has to pay the bank also some interest every year.
Okay.
No, there is a concession given, right? When he's taking loan from employer, there is a concession given to the employee. For example, if he's taking privately from SBI Bank, then there is a fixed interest of rate which he has to pay, like for example 8%, 10%.
Yes.
But when he's taking from employer, there is a concession given. It might be like given for 5% or 6%.
Yes.
So it's a saving for employee, so which has to be like paid as a tax.
So I would just repeat a word that